This is going to be a very feisty video. Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. My name is Alyssa and today I'm talking about the worst books I read in 2020. So this year for reading wise has been a pretty good year. I don't have a whole lot of dislikes. I think I had like 5 that I absolutely hated. And I hated a lot. But overall, this was a pretty good reading year. As in, I read the most books I've ever read in a year. I've read 38 books so far. We have like a few more days of December, but I'm not gonna get anything finished. But I do have some books that unfortunately were duds. Some of these books are extremely popular, so I'm gonna forewarn you that I'm sorry. If you love these books, I'm happy for you. I wish I could be on that train. Alas, I missed the departure. What? And as much as I wish I could have loved them, I just didn't, so, sorry. And I get really sassy and feisty and a little insane when I talk about books I hate. If you've seen my 24-hour Christmas vlog, that's just a peppering of what you're about to see today, I'm sure. So, again, so sorry. I'm looking at my list actually, and I have 6 books. There's 6 of them, never mind. Skip the whole 5 thing. There's 6. I forgot about that one. So, the last 3 are in order. However, the rest are just kind of like, they all suck. But the last 3, time to get spicy. Let's get started. Okay, so the first one on my list is The Thief by Whalen Turner. I really wanted to love this book so bad. This is a classic young adult fantasy. It's been around for a really long time. I think there's one that either just came out or is coming out that's like the conclusion to the whole thing. It's been like 10-20 years in the making or something ridiculous. I don't know. I read this a few months ago and I hated it so much. This is about Jen, who is a world-renowned thief, and apparently he can steal anything but somehow lands himself in prison for stealing. And he goes on this journey with a couple other people because they need his help to steal an impossibly hard, difficult, a hard to steal item. This book was so boring. It was so boring. I didn't like any of the characters. I guess Jen was okay sometimes, but I didn't like any of the characters. I was bored throughout this whole book. This plot was so dumb. Most of it was them walking, camping, and telling stories. That's the best way I can describe it. And I didn't care about any of that. There were so many scenes of just them walking through towns, walking over hills, camping in the forest, and then telling stories by the fire about, you know, different versions of legends and lore. I just didn't care about, because to me it didn't seem like it had anything to do with the actual plot. In fact, I was so bored. I was listening to the audiobook of this, by the way, but I was so bored I missed the twist in the end and I googled it because I was not willing to go back and find out what was going on. Because I missed it and I didn't realize I missed it, and I was like, I'm gonna have to go back like a minute or 2. Nah, I'm just gonna Google it. And that's what I did. I didn't like this book, and I'm really sad about that. Okay, next up is The Queen of Nothing by Holly Black. I think I'm not alone in this, where most people, or a good mix, did not like this book. There was no central plot. It was all very muddy, and I just didn't like it. I just could not get behind the entirety of the series, but especially this one, just because I just was not a fan. The first book, The Cruel Prince, is about a girl named Jude who wants to be part of the fairy society that she's been kidnapped into, essentially. And she makes googly eyes at this guy named Carden for literally no reason. Because he's a bully and a jerk, and I don't know why everyone ships them, and puts this great emphasis on this romance because it's really not great. It was just really awkward to read this series. The first one was actually interesting and I was like, okay, this might get better. No. The second one was bad and the third one was a dumpster fire. So yeah, I hated this one. It made literally no sense. The ending was too convenient after this specific character had been so strong and so smart, and all of a sudden he wasn't, and I was like, what is happening? I did not like Jude. I thought she was annoying, cocky. I think it's really interesting because A Frolic Through Fiction was talking about it, and she's like, how does this girl do so much and not sleep? And how does no one notice all the things she's doing? I could not agree more. And it's that same theme throughout the whole series. Yeah, I hated this. And I have no plans on reading The King of Elfhame or whatever. Okay, so the next one on my list is All the Stars and Teeth by Adelyn Grace. Yes, I actually own this, even though I hated it. It was an Owl Crate edition, so I think I might just go online and try and sell it because it is signed. So this was disappointing. That's the best word I can use for this, was disappointing. I had so many expectations for this book and none of them were met. And it was just upsetting. This is about a girl who, I can't even remember, to be fair. This is about a girl who has to escape her kingdom after using magic in a bad way, I guess. And she decides to escape and flee, and she ends up on a pirate ship with this pirate guy. Yep. I was expecting a lot more high seas adventures, and it just didn't happen. I'm always so disappointed with pirate books, to be fair. I feel like I haven't found a really good one that I'm like, yes, love that, huge fan. Have yet to find one. I guess the closest is the Jackie Faber series, but that's more historical fiction. But I want a good pirate fantasy, you know? That's all I want. This did not meet my expectations. The magic in this book was really confusing. I don't feel like it was very well explained. I hated the main character. She was cocky, she was annoying, she had no reason to be so full of herself, and she had nothing to back it up with, and I was just so frustrated. Bastian was interesting, but in the end kind of just ended up being an idiot. The one good thing I guess I can say is that the pirate ship magic element was interesting, but it was just really upsetting. I was really disappointed with this, and I wanted so much more from this book, and I didn't get it. However, the mermaid in this was cool. If I could just have a series with her, I'd be down. But again, not really explained on how mermaids work in this world. This book needed to be longer. That's honestly what it comes down to. And the main character, less obnoxious. Ooh, I am getting sweaty from being so angry. Okay, so this is gonna be kind of funny. This is my last three. My least three, top least three. This is confusing. And this one is gonna surprise a lot of you because I actually read things that I hated more. The main reason this is number 3 is because it made me laugh a lot. And that is A Perfect Christmas by Debbie Macomber. Again, I have a whole reading vlog about it, so I won't talk too much about this, but this was awful. The only redeeming quality is that I laughed so hard, and I needed a good laugh. This is about Cassie, who dreams of having the perfect Christmas, and apparently that entails having a husband and children, and so she goes off and hires a matchmaker to help her get a man. This book was messy. This book was so bad. Poorly written. The plot was really, it was bad. There were so many inconsistencies, and I hated all the characters. Our main character especially was a complete moron, and then the guy character had no personality, and he was just really dumb. I'm still flabbergasted at the level of stupidity in this book. This woman's 34. She reads like a 20-something-year-old who is trying to get her life together and doesn't know how to do it. Paid $30,000 for this matchmaker, which to me, that was a highlight of this book, is just this lady paying that much money. What were you thinking? I hated this. It was so bad. I laughed a lot though because it was so bad. So that's why it's number 3, because I did have an enjoyable time reading it because it was so terrible. If you want to hear all of the juicy details and spoilers, I will again have that linked below. Go check it out because it was a doozy of a time. Alright, number 2 on my list is Egg and Spoon by Gregory Maguire. I have never been so angry at a book in my entire life. This was so bad. This is the story about 2 girls who switch places. This takes place in Russia at some point, and they switch places on accident, and then this weird adventure begins. I've talked about this in great length, I think in a wrap-up. I think it was in November. So, of me raging at it for a good 5 to 10 minutes, I think. The writing in this book is extremely lyrical and extremely flowery, to the point where the story gets lost in the writing. The characters have no personality. They read like teenagers, even though, or young adults, I guess, even though they're supposed to be children. There was too much going on in this plot. We had the 2 girls switching places, and that started and ended at about 200 pages. This is a long book. Then the rest of the book was trying to get the magic of Russia back, and a lot of unnecessary elements in this book. The magic was really confusing and unnecessary. There was a firebird, an ice dragon, walking Matryoshka dolls, teeth that turned into soldiers, like some of the dumbest and most unnecessary things. This book would have been way better if it had focused on the girls switching places and trying to get back, and maybe drawing parallels between the magic and the story. I think that would have been way better than throwing in all these magical creatures and magical things happening that made no sense. The ending of this book, maddest I've ever been. It was completely ridiculous. I was questioning why this book was so long when the ending was so convenient. Like, why did I have to spend 200 pages of these characters roaming through the tundra for literally no reason? I was incredibly frustrated and incredibly angry. I've never been so mad at a book in my life. I had to put it down. I was so mad. I was pacing and raging. It was bad. It was a lot. I actually read this with our book club, and they all felt the same way. No one liked this book. It was just so bad. It was really disappointing too, because, you know, I heard a lot of good things about it, and this one has been around for a very long time. The author of this is actually the guy who wrote Wicked, so I had high hopes. And then those hopes were squished by a talking Matryoshka doll. That was bad. Yeah, this one was really bad. This is why it's my second to least favorite. The only redeeming thing about this book was Baba Yaga, because she was funny. That was it. Everything else sucked. And last but certainly not least, my absolute least favorite book of the year was Fallen Kingdoms by Morgan Rhodes. I hated this book so much. It wasn't just hating it, but it was disappointing, because I've heard so many people say so many good things about this series and absolutely love it, and I'm sitting here thinking, why? So it was a combination of hating everything about it and being disappointed about everything about it, and that is why it's in my #1 spot. This is an expansive fantasy series about a multitude of characters trying to get through this kingdom feud and all this nonsense. There's a guy whose brother who just got murdered, a girl who witnessed that murder, and she's also a princess, and then there's this guy from the other kingdom who has the hots for his sister. Oh, you heard me right. This book was so cringy. That's the best way to put it. All of the Magnus chapters, I was literally just sitting there like, ugh, oh, gross, stop. I've never in my life read a character as dumb as Cleo. She made the worst possible decisions and then continued to make terrible decisions and didn't try to fix those bad decisions. This girl was a moron. And then the other character, Jonas, which is weird because that's my dad's name, so that was weird in and of itself. He was so bland and so dull, and he was so bent on one thing that he couldn't see the other things going on around him until it was too late. And I was like, I figured it out pages before you did. I don't understand why. But literally the worst part about this was Magnus. He was the worst character. I understand a lot of people like him, and I don't understand why, because he's incredibly creepy. I just could not get behind it. I would say that the first 50 to 60 pages of this book were actually really good. Took a jump into a dumpster fire and refused to come out. Yeah, it was really bad. I did not like this book. It was disappointing. I had such high hopes. My friend and I actually read it together, and we were talking about it the other day, and she forgot that we read it together, and I was like, I'm pretty sure we did, because we both like blocked it out. It was just so bad. I read the whole thing though, because I had high hopes that the ending would be better, but it wasn't. It was actually worse than the whole book. So, you know, live and learn. So there you have it, my 6 worst books of 2020. Like I said, I actually had a really good reading year. Most of the books I read ranged from about, I'd say 3 to 5 stars. I'm pretty easy to please, but when there's a bad one, it's bad for me. Let me know down below what the worst book you read this year was, because I'm curious, so I don't read it. And of course, if you have not subscribed, please do. I come out with videos at least once a week. And if you like, you can give this video a thumbs up, just because I'm really funny when I rage. You should see me playing video games. It's bad. So thank you so very much for watching, and I will see you very, very soon in the next video. Bye-bye!